Other things that should be debunked coming out of that Super Bowl.
I would say the tendency, we do this after every finals and we have to do this after every Super Bowl, the tendency to say the Bengals are going to bounce right back, because I would bet a lot of money that Burrow's going to play in another Super Bowl. And Burrow after the game said that, we're a young team, like to think we'd be back. I don't know if you saw, he shouted out the Kurt Warner football life. What a moment for the Kurt Warner football life. In the post game, he basically said that he said that Kurt Warner had said in his football life that he didn't feel like he celebrated losing the Super Bowl enough, celebrated the accomplishments of a losing Super Bowl team. I know the Patriots put up a banner for a losing Super Bowl, but Kurt Warner thinks that he should have done more of that. And so Burrow wanted to appreciate that a little bit more. But, listen, they need to do a minor version of what the Chiefs did last year, which is overhaul their entire offensive line. Like, we live in a post-Andrew Luck world. Part of the problem with Joe Burrow is that he loves contact, and that is not necessarily a good thing. He's okay taking those hits. He's okay holding on to the ball a little longer. Matthew Stafford threw the ball on average had a half second longer to throw than Burrow did on Sunday.
I think it was longer. Massive. Wasn't it longer than that? I thought it was like almost
at one point it was
second.
longer.
Yeah.
It ended up being, I think, 2.4 to 2.9. Probably because at the end of the game, Stafford was going shotgun up tempo, all that stuff to Cooper Kupp. So the average came down. But the depth in the AFC is unbelievable. I am as big a Burrow fan as anybody. I was saying that this was a 9 to 11 win team before this season. But the depth in the AFC is insane. And the barrier for entry to be a really good team in the NFL right now is really, really, really high. And the sort of all-in approach that the Rams are going to have, we're going to see that more and more. And so the Bengals have to do what the Chiefs did last year, which is retool their offensive line on the fly. It is not an amazing free agent class. You have really big ticket items like Teron Armstead are available. Obviously the Chiefs made the trade last year. But I think that just the idea that a young team with a good quarterback is going to immediately bounce back, I think that there are some questions there. And so, the Bengals is a franchise, still, they haven't changed. We had Carson Palmer on the pod last week, and he's like, the Bengals franchise has not changed. Joe Burrow changed the franchise, but they have not changed. They still have 6 scouts. They still have some of the same issues that they've always had. So it's up to them. Listen, they spent more in free agency. Kudos to them for giving Trey Hendrickson $60 million. They've got to fundamentally change for this to be sustainable.
Yeah, I don't see them coming back. Now, I say that with a twinge of bitterness because I went against them every round against the spread and they covered all 4 weeks. But I think they could have lost every week. I think they got real fortunate stuff happen to them, especially the last 3 weeks. Like Tannehill, for whatever reason, just completely shits the bed. Along with the Tennessee coaching
for whatever
staff.
reason. For whatever reason.
Well,
maybe it's just
I expected
sort
a
of
little
him.
more from our guy Ryan. Along with the terrible Tennessee coaching, especially in that iconic 3rd and 1 with the 2 plays. Then the next week, I will always believe till the bitter end that Mahomes was concussed at some point before the second half started that game. It makes no sense that he was that bad.
Okay.
Honestly, I want people to study that. I want to see some incredible 25-minute YouTube thing made by some crazy conspiracy person just pointing out how bad Mahomes was, really from the moment they had 1st and goal at the end of the first half all the way through. It is, for somebody who's as good as he is, it is one of the worst performances we've ever had in any sport in a big game, in my opinion, based on what his talent is. So you have that. And then in this Rams game, look, I know people are like, no, you can't say that about Odell, blah, blah, blah. But I was at the game. If Odell had played that whole game, I think the Rams win by double digits. I don't think the Bengals could have hung with them. What do you think?
Odell was their mismatch guy. And you saw how dominant he was in person.
He was open.
But McVay also, listen, they could have won that game by 2 touchdowns if McVay just had a different approach. That was the worst, statistically the worst running performance in the history of Super Bowls.
It was amazing.
Okay? It was unbelievable. And so McVay, after the Patriots Super Bowl, told everybody who would listen that he overthought it, that he watched too much tape and he didn't do enough game planning. He had seen information overload. When it time to do the game planning, he had too much in his head. There's nothing to suggest that McVay didn't overthink this. Nothing. And, thank God they went for his sake. They went up tempo, shotgun, spread it out. I mean, I saw the stat. They were like 4 or 5 yards wider in their spreads on the last on the last drive. Thank God that all happened for his sake, because otherwise we'd be talking about McVay overthinking another Super Bowl and losing to Zach Taylor, who I don't think Zach Taylor's not a very good coach. This was all Joe Burrow, some individual talent. I do think they did some things with the offense, but this McVay was bailed out. And I don't know if that was just him on the last drive. I mean, there was the nugget today that the coaches and McVay said, "Hey, let's just let Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp win this game." They did that. Congratulations. But I don't think...
I would have done that a half hour sooner, personally. But
I mean, as soon as Odell went out, I would have done that. I would have said, okay, this is a two-man game.
So here's... And I'm not zagging against the advanced metrics and just trying to be a dick. I do, like, fundamentally, I understand the concept of let's try to keep the Bengals offense off the field. Let's try to control the ball. Let's try to see if we can get this going. Like, I get it. But by the third quarter, first of all, it was so clear that they weren't going to run the ball. Second of all, you could tell when they were running versus when they were passing, which there was some sort of like breach with from a trickery standpoint. You just kind of knew where Cooper Kupp was lining up, whether they're going to run or pass. It's bad if I'm sitting in the stands and I'm just going run, pass, run. So I'm assume the Bengals could do that. But to me, the coaching, the thing to really hammer McVay on was just how uncreative it was. It was just like this old school. Yeah, no, we're gonna run it. No, we're gonna run it. Now we will pass it.
But that's that's the margin of error talent gives you. Is that all they needed was Aaron Donald? I mean, it was funny. I wrote this, and I like Sean McVay, but like he said before the 4th and 1. And by the way, the 3rd and 1 with Aaron Donald was just as impressive as the 4th and 1.
Yeah.
But he said that McVay after the game said, "You're going to hear me mic'd up. I said that Aaron Donald's going to end this ball game." Well, that's because you have Aaron Donald. Yeah. It's just like, what a limb to go out on, that the best player in modern defensive history is going to make a play when he's one-on-one with Quentin Spain, you know? And again, part of that's Raheem Morris, understanding how to get one-on-one situations.
Yeah.
Sean McVay built that staff. So it's not like that he was just a passenger in this. But this is what talent affords you. And this is why all week, when I would talk to players at Radio Row, or even before that, we did Slow News Day with Micah Parsons, they all said talent. Like the Bengals had no chance. This is the Rams. And you think about upgrading from Terrell Lewis to Von Miller. That was an overpay, but it didn't matter because they knew what they needed to do. And they also needed the Broncos to pick up some of the contract. Overpaying is fine when you know exactly what you need. This team was the biggest bet in history as far as draft capital, as far as money, all that stuff, as far as just investing billions into the stadium, right? Like this whole thing, this was credit card stuff, and it worked because they knew that football's won on the margins, and they had so many little margins that were adding up over the Bengals, over the Bucks, over whomever, that listen, having Aaron Donald can solve this. So McVay being in his own head, it doesn't matter when you have that many advantages.
Well, back to the Bengals about whether this was real or not. This was the most skin by their pants team that ever came within 5 minutes of winning a Super Bowl that I've ever seen in my life. And look, it's the whole point of football. It's why they play the games. I'm not disparaging the Bengals, but I just felt like they weren't that impressive the entire time, and it was kind of amazing what they accomplished. I'm saying that as a compliment, not an insult. You think like they have 2 years of Burrow left before they have to really pay him, right? So they have right now the all-time luxury of the rookie QB on that contract. We know they don't like to spend money. We know that they're in a tougher conference going forward, where you have, if you're going to make the list of the quarterbacks you want going forward, I think all 4 of them are in the AFC. It's Allen, it's Mahomes, it's Herbert, and it's Burrow. And I think about this a lot with Mac Jones.
I mean, I wouldn't forget about Lamar Jackson as well. He's in that division.
Okay, but I'll go with those 4 first. I don't trust Lamar to the same level. But I think about Mac Jones, where I like Mac Jones. Could he have played in that game? Yeah, I think he could have been okay. But we have this quarterback that will never be one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the conference for as long as so there are 4 guys there. It's discouraging because this is a quarterback league. But in the NFC, and this is why I like when you hear the Kyler Murray trade rumblings and stuff like that, if I'm in the NFC and you look around, you think like, he could be the king of the hill here. This is why I'm sure Rodgers thinks he could probably play until he's 43, 44.